As I behold the dusty basement, I wonder if I made the right choice. The car crash was instant, at least. The angels don't exactly pay much attention to why people die, but a semi barreling down a hill is usually because of failed brakes. They told me I could go see about the pearly gates, or get reassigned. Apparently accidents like that are a bit of a loophole. Also apparently, those weird ice guy stories are a thing. There were a whole bunch of weird different worlds out there to send adventurers and such to, but I wasn't all that interested. That kind of thing is fun in a game, sure, but in reality you only get one life. Or two, I guess. I was about to leave to talk to St. Peter, when the lady angel presenting the options tried one more. It was to become a dungeon. I was incredulous, but also intrigued. How does one become a dungeon? Well, one gets hit by a semi, I suppose. But how does one actually be a dungeon? Would it be like Dungeon Man in Earthbound? It was such a weird option, and she looked so desperate to fill that position that I shrugged and accepted. I figured, worst case, I'll end up back here eventually, and I can just head to the gates instead. After accepting, I started to just dissolve, and the angel seemed so happy, telling me I wouldn't regret my decision. She was wrong, as watching my feet fade away filled me with regrets pretty quickly, but I had already agreed, and I can't stand backing out after agreeing to something. Even if it seems like it's going to immediately suck. Which brings us to the basement. Do note that I said behold, and not that I looked around. As far as I can tell, I don't have eyes. It makes sense if I'm a dungeon. I'm just curious what kind of definition of a dungeon equals what feels like a rundown house. If most of those ice guy stories are like playing an RPG, I feel like this one is more like a weird city builder, like maybe Dwarf Fortress. I just hope it's not as difficult. I feel like I'm a floating viewpoint, and it's pretty weird. I can also focus kind of out and feel the whole house. I even have a few little indicators for things. For one, I have denizens, which feels grandiose to call some rats and a bunch of spiders. I also have invaders in the form of roaches and flies. What I don't have is any idea how to do anything. After observing around a bit, I notice a tiny little orange gem that pops up with the word core above it. I don't know what it is, but the cupboard I found it in is labeled as my sanctum, so that's probably important, even if the gem is super tiny. More like a shard or a chip than a gem. Either way, I'd really like to put it somewhere more secure than just a cupboard. The spiders seem to want to protect it, though. I've seen them weaving an impressive tangle around it. Well, impressive for spiders. Maybe they just like the little glow it gives off? The flies definitely do. I watch one of my spiders finally scuttle up and bite into the first of the captured flies, and feel something weird. Mana obtained. Yeah, weird. More little notifications pop up as the spiders dig into their meals, each showing over the little flies before fading. So I get mana from the spiders doing things. What does mana do? It's gotta do something, right? If this is like a city builder, I probably use it to build my city of spiders and rats, though that still doesn't answer how. I try mentally yelling at the rats to do a backflip or file my taxes, but they ignore me. They do occasionally eat a roach, which seems to be more mana than a fly, but I get the feeling that's not saying much. I focus back on the spiders, since they seem to be actively, if accidentally, protecting the core. I notice one just starting to build a new web, and try to give it a command. Hey, spider, weave a heart into your web, instead of it just being a circle. Whoa. That took a bit of my mana. Not a ton, but more than a couple flies would give. And sure enough, I can already see the little spider weaving a heart for her web. While interesting, what does that actually do for me? I mentally sit down to consider. Denizens seem to be on my side. Invaders seem to be against me. I get mana for killing invaders. The core is probably important. I mentally nod to myself as my next task is decided, get the core somewhere safe. Where would be somewhere safe? The cupboard is safe-ish, but I feel like I can do better. Pretty sure I'll need more mana to do that, though. Did I call this a city builder? Because I think it's an idle game, and I can't even click things to make it faster. I did find a few things of interest, at least. I found my spawners, I guess. There's a rat's nest in the basement, and the little room under the stairs leading to the second floor has a spider egg sac. I mostly discovered them on my quest to find something to click. When I focused on those two, though, I was presented with the option to spawn rats or spiders, respectively, for a mana cost. Spiders are dirt cheap, and rats are a bit expensive, at least at this point. I spawned one of each anyway, and after a little timer ticked down, a spider crawled out of the sack. Not a spiderling, a grown spider. Similarly, an adult rat came out of the nest in the basement. I tried clicking them, too, and discovered they are much easier to command than the normal spiders and rats. Looking closer, they're listed as Scion Spider and Scion Rat, so I guess I have kinda creepy little avatars? Well, with creepy little avatars, I can at least move the core. The rat can't exactly get up into the cupboard, and the spider would be too vulnerable out in the open. But teamwork makes the dream work. It's not too difficult to get the spider to web the core and carry it, though it does seem a little bigger now. Maybe it's from me having mana? Either way, I need to get this thing secured sooner rather than later. With the spider holding the core, I have it dragline down to land on the rat, and we're off to the races. And by races, I mean basement. There's a little hole in the wall under the stairs that seems like a great place to put the core. The rat can just barely squeeze into it, and the little space is about the size of my fists put together well, my fists as they used to be. It's gonna be weird getting used to not having fists. I even get the idea to have the rat gnaw a bit of wall from a different part of the basement to make a cover for the little hole. With the spider's webbing, the whole thing seals up and you'd never know it was there. It even changed the title of the little hole to Secret Sanctum, so I'm pretty proud of that. Seems like my mana generation has taken a hit for it, though. Probably because there's no little glowing source to attract flies. I found more things to click. Or rather, I have enough mana that clicking things actually gives me options now. Specifically, I can make traps. Or grow traps. I don't know what else to call it. When I click a door, I can make it have a squeaky hinge, which doesn't sound like much of a trap to me. The description is interesting, though. Squeaky door detectability, moderate chance to trip, guaranteed when opened. The door emits a loud squeak from poor hinges, alerting all denizens up to one room away. It's not like roaches and flies will be opening my doors, but for bigger stuff, that could be nice to have. I spend the mana to do it, mostly just because. I also set a rotten floorboard in the main room of the house. Rotten floorboard detectability, impossible chance to trip, low. The rotten floorboard will snap under a careless foot, briefly immobilizing the intruder and alerting all denizens up to 2 rooms away. Playing with traps gives me something to do besides just spawning more spiders and rats. Only the first ones are scions, which kinda sucks, but the new ones are cheaper, at least. They also seem kinda weak compared to even the normal critters. The normals seem to almost listen to them, though. I started having my spiders build webs around my various windows and other places flies could get in, and the normal spiders seemed drawn to them. Similarly, I had my rats actively patrolling for roaches, and the normal rats started frequenting those areas more, and so ate more roaches and got me more mana. Which I've been spending on upgrades for my rats and spiders. Well, upgrades on their spawners, at least. For the spiders, upgrading the egg sac seems to just make more egg sacs, which will passively spit out more spiders over time. With the various entrances mostly covered, I set a few of my spiders to just webbing up the basement, which the normals seem to take to with gusto. Anyone arachnophobic is going to stay well away from my basement. They even register as a swarm now, instead of individual spiders, which is encouraging. I've only been able to afford one upgrade for the rats so far, though. As far as I can tell, it just spawns slightly tougher rats now. Which is fine, it's not like roaches are dangerous to them. Oh. That could be, though. Someone just knocked. My front porch has felt fuzzy to me ever since I got here. Maybe it's technically outside my borders? I can feel someone standing there, and what sounds like speech, but I can't make anything out. Not like they're speaking a language I don't know, but more like they're underwater. Or I am. Either way, I'm pretty sure my front door isn't locked. I don't think I even can lock it. I can trap it, but I can't just keep people out. Probably for the same reason I can't just keep flies and roaches out. I decide to spend a bit of mana to pull everyone back, my rats and spiders all scurrying to whatever hiding places are available. Whoever is out there is either in no hurry or has great timing, because the door only opens after everything is hiding. My first thought is to wonder why an elf decided to come visit. Yeah, I know what an elf is, and I'm not all that surprised. I've played D&D. The only people who lose their crap over an elf are people with the hots for Legolas. This one doesn't look too far off from that, though he looks almost bored rather than attentive. He's also talking to himself or into some kind of recording device. Can confirm house is a dungeon. I could feel its attention when I knock shit. Ha, suck on that rotten plank. I even got some mana for that, which is the first time I've gotten it for something besides killing things, which is nice. No, I'm fine. I managed to find a rotten floorboard. Nothing came to try to eat me, though. Oh, right. If I'm supposed to be a dungeon, I should probably at least make a token effort. I wouldn't want to be rude. I spend a bit of mana to send the wimpiest normal rat to go see what he's about. I spend the extra for a normal, not one of mine. I wouldn't want the normals to follow one of mine and swarm the guy. I don't think I need to worry about that, though. His eyes lock to it as soon as it enters the room, even with furniture and stuff in the way. This guy might be a bit high level for me. Level 1 rat, single, passive spawn. The elf pauses for a moment as the rat continues to approach, the little thing not even aware it's been spotted yet. Roger, engaging. He whips out a knife and tosses it at the rat, killing it instantly. He's definitely too high level to be slumming it in a newbie little dungeon like me. I got mana from him killing the rat though. That's weird. Huh, that's also weird. He's not listed as an intruder, but as a delver. I'm pretty sure I've seen the roaches get a spider or two, and I didn't get any mana for it, so why for him? As I think on it, he looks around and talks to his device or team. It seemed like someone was talking back. No sign of the sanctum, nor any other specialty rooms. The one under the stairs is close to becoming a spider lair, looks like. Level 3 spider swarm in the basement, and a level 2 rat's nest. No hostility aside from the single rat, looks specialized for pest control still. No resource nodes, one minor chest in the attic. Whoa, wait, hang on there, elf guy. Resource nodes? Chests? I can do that. And hands off my chest. I'm no lady, but you should still buy me dinner first. I briefly consider sicking the swarm on him, but decide against it. He didn't sound too concerned about it being level 3. I don't want to waste that kind of resources for them to just be killed though. With what happened with the rat, it might be alright. Nah, we'll save that for later. For now, I should put up at least some kind of defense of the chest. Lots of movement, looks like it wants to protect the chest. The swarm is staying put, though I see a new one forming on the stairs up. Level 1 swarm confirmed. Yeah, what's your stupid knife going to do against a swarm of spiders, huh? Oh. Skills are a thing. He doesn't shout the name of his attack, but a few flourishes of his knife sends winds to scatter my swarm and destroy the webbing they were putting up. I got a bunch of mana from that, though, and he didn't even kill many of my spiders. He just dispersed my swarm. Okay, I need to stall him. Swarm dispersed, minimal damage done. His bored look shifts to a smirk for a moment. I told you I know what I'm doing. Besides, this one doesn't seem actively malevolent. If it was, it'd bring out the big guns and try to bury me in rats and spiders all at once. Or put a spike under that rotten floorboard. While he takes his time climbing the stairs, I spend some mana on more than just moving rats around. I can upgrade my traps, see? Squeaky door. Detectability, moderate. Chance to trip, guaranteed. When opened, the door emits a loud and annoying squeak from rusty hinges, alerting and attracting all denizens up to one room away. It's subtle, but it's there. Now stuff doesn't just know a door is opened, they are incentivized to go look, instead of probably hiding. There's another upgrade still, but it's a bit expensive for me just yet. Now to see what Elf Guy does with my new trap. You upgraded Squeaky Door. I hate that trap. It's not just annoying to the denizens. Alerted 2 level 2 spawned rats and 4 level 1 passives. Engaging. He pulls out 2 knives, and I'm worried he's just going to do the same to my rats as with the spiders, or even with that first rat. Thankfully, it's either on cooldown, or he just doesn't want to expend the effort on rats. He still takes out each rat with a single attack, but my brave little rodent soldiers do their job of slowing him down a little. None of them even come close to biting him, but they make a good effort. With their sacrifice, my last defense is in position, at least. I seriously doubt I'll be able to take him down, but if I can even score a hit, I'm gonna count it as a win. And, if I keep getting mana for what this Delver kills, I should have enough to do something interesting. Successful encounter. I don't see any of the movement, but I don't think it's just going to give me that chest. Proceeding with caution. He quietly continues to the ladder to the attic, and I'm already a bit proud of making him be cautious. I hope he's not too cautious, though. I want to take at least one of his HP to keep. At least, I think he has HP. My spiders and rats don't, which is probably why he can take them out in a single attack. As he climbs into the attic, I can hear a bit of surprise in his voice and see a small smile on his face, which now looks attentive. Confirm boss encounter, level 2 mixed rat swarm with scion buff. Negative on scion position. Engaging. He does his wind blade attack again, but the rats are heavy enough they can't just be scattered like the spiders were. They're definitely blades of wind, though, as I see many rats in the swarm sliced in two. The rest surge forward and he acrobats around my dusty attic, occasionally sending another blade of wind at them. They get close a few times, and I think the scion buff he mentioned might be making them a bit tougher, as I see a few rats actually wounded and still trying to attack, instead of simply dead from any damage. Still, the outcome was clear from the start, and soon the swarm loses cohesion and scatters. Boss complete. Checking chest now. He walks over to the chest, and as he lifts the lid, my rat scion pops out and bites his hand before darting away, leaving him startled as he watches it vanish into a hole in the wall. Stupid mistake, didn't get the EXP from the boss fight, so it wasn't over. He shakes his head before continuing to talk. EXP gained, now boss is complete. Chest contains potion of minor healing, he relays as he plucks it from the chest. He pops the cork and drinks the potion, causing the little bleeding wound on his hand to quickly fade. Dungeon is cheeky but not overtly hostile, despite lack of resource nodes. Dungeon is suitable for low-level small parties up to the attic, basement is forbidden. Path to Secret Sanctum is probably down there somewhere. Note that Dungeon already displays unorthodox methodology and ability to adapt to delvers. Intruders at minimum, Dungeon seems to prefer a clean house, dust notwithstanding. That seems to finish his report, and he heads for the ladder. I don't bother sending anything else to mess with him. Partially because he's cleared me, I guess. That's just how you do when you're cleared. Partially because he doesn't do more than simply peek into the basement, so he respects that I want to keep something to myself. But I mostly don't want to spend the mana on it. I have just enough to upgrade me, not just my spawners. Upgrading myself was definitely a good idea. My porch doesn't feel fuzzy anymore. I can even feel my roof and a little of the land around myself, too, though there's a little tower thingy on my roof that's still beyond my reach. I can feel movement outside, but I can't tell if I'm some creepy house in the woods and that's trees swaying in the breeze, or if I'm a rundown house in the middle of a huge city. Even better, though, I have 2 new spawners. I have a nest of blackbirds on the roof over my porch, and I have an anthill in the yard. Of course, with new spawners comes new intruders. Wasps have started showing up, and they love to harass my poor spiders. The spiders sometimes get them in the webs and eat them, giving me a nice bit of mana, but the wasps sometimes can get the spider. I'm just glad I went a bit overboard with the spider spawner, and they spawn as fast as the wasps can get them. And I can confirm that invaders don't give me mana for what they kill. Stupid wasps. There's also invader ants, which don't seem to be able to take over my hill, but I'm still a bit concerned about it. I'm going to be putting a lot of mana into that thing once I get more. The ants seem like they're designed to handle the roaches as well as the other ants, too, so they'll be able to pull double duty once I get them more upgraded. And I'll want them to, too, because the last new invader is my new gold standard for getting mana, mice. The rats go after them, so the ants get to pick up the slack with the roaches. The mice didn't come in from me upgrading my awareness, though. They came in after I made a resource node. I checked all over everywhere I could find, and it looks like I'll be hosting herbalists for the foreseeable future. I managed to grow a little patch of herbs in the backyard, and even sprouted some mushrooms near the foot of the stairs in the basement. I'm going to make them work at least a little for the mushrooms, kinda reinforce the idea that the basement is for me, not them. And the mice love the shrooms, so I keep several rats nearby. Oh, the room under the stairs on the first floor is now, officially, a spider lair. It even spat out a venomous swarm the other day. And speaking of spiders, my scion doesn't fit in my secret sanctum anymore. Little guy is a tarantula now at least, so I have him in a little nest near the mushrooms to eat more mice. While my spider is working on being a tank, my rat seemed to like to hit and run on the elf, and he's very sneaky now. If I didn't know everything about this house, I'd swear he's teleporting, but he's been making little tunnels through the walls that it seems like only he can fit through. He's my little scout. He's great. That's Scout with a capital S, by the way. My scions have titles now. The spider is a guardian, and the rat is a scout. It seems like they give different buffs, too. My scout gives things extra awareness now, which I think means an extra room worth of distance for noticing things. The guardian makes things tougher in his room. Since he's in the basement, that means the swarm in there is even more of a hindrance and more difficult for invaders or delvers to get through. So, with a good scion rat, I decided to upgrade the nest several times. You know, give him more rats to buff and stuff. After a certain point, I got to decide a path for it, which confused me. Rats don't have paths. They're rats. On Earth, maybe, but not here. I'll start with the path I didn't take, plague rats. Yeah, no. If I'm in a city, I don't need to bring the Black Death, thanks. Besides, I think the one I took is more interesting, pack rats. I'm not exactly sure how, but they seem to spawn random stuff every so often and put them places. I still only have the one chest in the attic, but now adventurers can look in my various drawers and cupboards and find interesting little things. Rough little gems, coins, sometimes they'll even put some fungus caps somewhere. They love hiding stuff in the chest, though, which makes sense. The blackbirds I quickly upgraded to crows, partially to help with the mice, and partially because crows are cool. They also like to collect shinies, or that's where the pack rats get the stuff. Either way. The crows also find the wasps delicious. I'm not sure that's how the food chain worked on Earth, but I'll take it. Good burbs. Protect my leggy bois. My real project, though, is with the ants. They spawn a bit differently than the other things. For my other things, I just queue up what I want and bam, I get it. They also periodically spawn stuff on their own, too. With the ants, though, they only spawn workers passively. And I can't tell the hill to spawn more workers. I can upgrade it, or I can trigger a nuptial flight. I upgraded it several times, and then the option for nuptial flight started blinking. So I went ahead and spent the mana for it, just to see why it was blinking. Well, that led to interesting things. For one, despite having only the one hill, there were several different types of ant available in the mating flight. I steered clear of the carpenter ants, at least for now. I wouldn't be surprised if they can do actual carpentry eventually, but I'm just a house right now. I don't need ants chewing through my wood to find a place to live. The option that stuck out to me, though, was the leafcutter. That's the ant that farms fungus to eat, and I thought that'd be a cool one to use as my guardian. Army ants and fire ants could be interesting for offense, but I like me some defense. I had her hitch a ride on my scout down to the basement, and he stopped by the mushroom patch for her to get a bit of the mycelia. I had honestly expected her to just suddenly have a little bit of fungus to grow and nurture, but that works for me. I'll bet those mushrooms attract delvers almost as much as they attract mice, so I definitely want more of them. She's a pretty active queen, too. She put her little bit of fungus next to my core, which is looking about like a marble now, laid her eggs, then went out to forage. I mean, I guess she's safe enough in the house, especially after I told a few spiders to watch over her. Only the flies seemed interested in her, so spiders were the obvious choice for protectors. She gathered a bit of paper to bring back for the fungus, and sat down to just chew and process it for the thing. It's relaxing to just watch her work. Oh, my crow scion says we have delvers approaching. Multiple? This'll be interesting. I didn't get a chance to do much outside yet, aside from the herb patch. I had also wanted to get a chest in the basement, but was more concerned with getting my new guardian settled. Ah well, they're here now. I approximate a squint at the delvers my crow alerted me to. Is he sure they're delvers? They look like kids. One looks a bit bigger and is green, so probably an orc or something. The other is also green, but is shorter. Like a lot shorter. Probably a goblin. Once they step onto my property, I listen in on what they're saying. The goblin looks nervous, but the orc is putting on a brave front. They look kinda dirty and poor, but mostly healthy. Are they from an orphanage or something? The nervous one speaks up. I dunno, Freddy, are you sure this is a good idea? Sure, it's a good idea. I saw the inspectors check this place out. It's definitely a dungeon. Doesn't that mean we should stay away? I'm with the scaredy cat on this one. Dungeons don't seem like the kind of place for urchins to play. No. If it was a big established one, yeah, but this one's fresh. Old Staven said he'd apprentice anyone with an ounce of magic if they could bring him some spell spores, and this is just the kind of place they'd grow. I think. But you don't have any magic, Freddy. The loudmouth just waves that off. But you do. So come on. A party has to help each other. That Freddy seems like a good sort, at least. I thought I was looking at a bully situation. But do these kids even have levels yet? Well, I still can't lock the door, so I guess they're coming in. They each ready their weapons, which are just two different sticks, looks like. Freddy there has a hefty stick, not quite a club, but it looks like it'd be up to dealing with rats and spiders. The other kid has a more whippy stick with a little shard of glass tied to it, I guess to act as his wand. I spend a bit of mana to send two wimpy rats to greet them. I don't want to overwhelm these kids just yet. It takes them a bit longer to notice than the elf did, but Wimpy's gasp alerts Freddy. The kid stands between his friend and the rats and yells at them, trying to scare them off. But these are my rats, they're not gonna run off. They have a job to do, and they are going to do it to the best of their abilities. The two rodents scurry forward, and I'm just hoping the kids can run away before anything too bad happens to them. I didn't need to worry, though. Freddy would have a good golf game back home and sends a rat sailing into the next room. Wimpy, however, points his wand at the O'Hare rat. Frost. The little thing ices up and decides that running is preferable to dying. Which is fine by me. I still get mana for them being defeated, not just for them getting killed, which is great all around, really. There is a pregnant pause before Freddy whoops in triumph. Yeah, we did it. See, your magic is good enough. Now we just gotta find those mushrooms. He looks around, obviously without a clue as to where they could be. He heads for a cabinet and Wimpy calls out to him. Be careful. You don't know if it's trapped. It'll be fine, don't worry, he says as he opens the cabinet. His eyes shine as he sees the silver piece sitting in plain view. Wow, a whole silver. We should come here more often. The boost in mana I get as he takes the coin makes me agree with that idea, too. Pack rats and crows were definitely the right choices for upgrades. The two poke around the main room, gathering coins from various containers. Freddy is not as observant as Wimpy, though. That kid peers at the spiders in the windows and the rats hunting roaches, keeping a distance as he watches. When Freddy makes to open the door to the spider lair, though, Wimpy actually grabs his hand. Not in there. Look, he says and points down at the slow stream of spiders coming from under the door. Freddy's eyes widen and he backs up a bit. Yeah, I don't think we could handle a swarm just yet. Ah, good. He knows his limits, too. I like these kids. Wimpy looks around and points at the stairs going down. I think the mushrooms will be down there. They like darkness. Freddy readies his stick and Wimpy makes his little wand act like a flashlight, and the two slowly descend into my basement. I actually spend a bit of mana to keep things calm down there. Everything knows the basement isn't for visiting, but I'm willing to give these kids a chance. They seem to know they're getting in a bit over their heads, but the brave little buggers keep going, as careful as two kids can be. The spider swarm hisses at the light and the presence of the kids, but don't attack. From Freddy's look, I think he might be arachnophobic. Still, he does his duty, standing between Wimpy and the swarm, even as his stick wobbles in his hand. How long to get those mushrooms, Rhonda? Rhonda? A girl, then. Huh. Just a few seconds, she says, sounding a bit sorry about the situation. She focuses on the mushrooms and plucking several of the bigger ones. Once I get the notification that she's gotten 3 units of mushroom, I have no idea what a unit actually is, but it's more than just 3 caps. I decide that's enough for now. I'm not a mean dungeon, but I feel like I'd lose my license if I just gave this stuff away. Not that I actually have a license, but still. I have my spider scion start to emerge from his little nest, in clear view of Rhonda. At the same time, I let the swarm start to slowly advance. Rhonda. They're coming. Her eep of reply gets him to look and see the scion emerge. He's my biggest denizen by now, about the size of a dinner plate if you count his legs. To the kids, he probably looks the size of a horse. Run, orders Freddy, and Rhonda is all too happy to oblige. The two book it, and I keep my spiders from giving chase. I got a bunch of mana for defeating the Delvers, and I can't help but smile to myself as the two slam my front door and lean against it, panting from the run and from the fear. After about a minute, though, the two start laughing, relieved to have escaped. That was crazy, exclaims Freddy, riding the energy of his adrenaline tapering off. Did you get enough? Rhonda nods and pulls a double handful of mushrooms from her pocket. Yeah. Old Staven will have to apprentice me now. Rhonda's happy smile slips, even though Freddy is still beaming. But what about you? You still don't have any magic. Freddy shrugs. I'll be fine. Maybe the Church of the Crystal Shield will accept me? We got in and out of a dungeon, after all. Rhonda smiles at that. You'd make a good paladin, even if you're scared of spiders, she adds with a giggle. Freddy gasps. Dude, you saw the size of that guardian spider. She laughs and nods. Yeah, I also didn't argue when you said to run, hee. He laughs as well, and I get a new alert. Quest updated. The next generation completed their quests in you. Mana rewarded. Oh, that's a lot of mana.